ready to go? Great. We'll call this meeting of the Fargo School Board to order on Tuesday, July 11th, and our thanks to the City of Fargo for letting us use their City Hall, or City Commission chambers while our building and its lot are kind of torn up. So thank you so much to the City of Fargo. I would accept a motion to approve the order of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carries. No one has signed up to speak from the audience, so we will move into the next agenda item, which is reorganization of the Fargo Board of Education. And I will turn this over to Superintendent Schatz to preside.
Thank you, President, for the last time.
Last time.
So, well, at this time, I would ask for the canvassing committee report, and Jennifer Benson was in charge of that. So I would ask for her to report back for the nominations received for the position of president.
Perfect. Do I need to
Pull it up a little bit? Just need to pull it close.
The canvassing committee reports 3 candidates to put their name forward as members willing to serve in the position of president. Dinah Goldenberg, Jim Johnson, and Christy Ulrich.
So the canvassing report brings back 3 candidates for president. At this time, I would ask, are there any other nominations from the floor? Any other nominations from the floor? And third and final, any nominations from the floor? Having heard no nominations from the floor, we have 3 candidates for president, and so we will go into the voting process. I do want to make one comment before we do that. It's unique to have 3 candidates, and the rules that we have set before us through Robert's Rule of Order and through GP 2E is a majority vote must be received for a person to be selected as president, which would mean with 9 board members, we'd have to have 1 person with 5. And so if that does not occur, we would vote again until we do have a vote of 5 for 1 person. So we will go through the first round with our ballots, and we'll see where we end up.
You have your first ballot for presidency at your chairs.
You would complete that, and they'll pick them up from you. Through our first round of voting, we do not have a majority vote, so we will have to proceed to a second vote. And according to the rules of Robert's Rule of Order and to the rules that you have set forth in your GP2E, is all 3 candidates continue to remain moving forward. You cannot eliminate a candidate because your rules state for a majority. And so there will have to be another vote. And again, we're looking for 5 votes for a majority. I do not report a majority vote. And so this process has to continue until we do have a majority vote, because there is no provision for the low vote getter to be dropped from the list. And since there is no rules in place through your policies, that's what we have to follow. So we will proceed with round 3.
Can I ask a question?
You can ask a question, yes?
Obviously, we don't know who the bottom candidate is, but if the 3 of us agreed, could we do that to move this along? Otherwise, we could be here all day.
Let's go round 3 and then let's entertain that
I
question.
mean, I'm prepared to, if I'm the one, to drop, but obviously I don't know that.
Okay.
So we just sent in the application. And, oh, well, we would never give them up anyway. It just make any reason, but it was recommended. I was still. My sign is right there. Sorry about that. But you have to agree.
Otherwise, it's pretty boring.
So I was glad I didn't have to do it a third time because I almost went, because it's not very handy. So now I'm thinking when I, the reason I said that is when I sign my signature, I think, oh, how do I have to sign it now?
At this point, I do not report a majority vote for any one candidate, and so to answer Dinah's question, this is what the guidance I would give you as a board, is this is your board, and so if the 3 candidates would be willing to have the vote tally be read out loud and the names associated with it, you could do that. And then if somebody wanted to self-elect to not be part of the candidacy, they could withdraw. So that's an option to you, or we can continue to vote. But that is an option for you to consider. I don't make that decision.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm hearing that all 3 candidates are okay with reporting back to you the vote tally. So at this time, this is the 3rd round, right? The 3rd round, Jim had 4 votes, Dinah 3, and Christie 2. And so with that information, we could proceed to the next round of voting.
Good one, Brad.
Right.
Are either of you involved with the Russians?
What?
Pardon? Are either of you involved with the Russians?
Wait,
Have blood, right?
my ancestry.
around.
Ancestry from, yeah, you would black Russian, you would white Russian. Oh, God, every day, yeah, keeps your.
This kind of brings back everything I remember about this room. Waiting for stuff.
Yeah, the commission does.
Which was your seat?
What's that?
Which was your seat?
There were only 3 of them.
Yeah, but we had recorder down there, attorney down
Okay, I'm happy to report that we do have a majority vote. Jim will be our next president. So congratulations to Jim, and I would say thank you to the other two candidates for putting your names forward. It's nice to know that we have people interested in taking on that challenge. And so at this time, Jim would be seated as your president. He would preside over the next order item on the agenda, and that would be the candidates' canvassing report for vice president, and then the process of actually electing your vice president. So thank you for the opportunity to oversee a very unique situation. So, Jim?
Jennifer, you want to give the canvassing
Sure.
committee report for
Yes.
vice president?
So the canvassing committee reports that there are 2 members willing to serve in the position of vice president, and that is myself and Rebecca.
President Johnson, do you want to take any nominations from the floor?
Yes, I will. Thank you for the reminder. Are there any nominations from the floor for vice president? Any nominations from the floor? One last time, any nominations from the floor? I'll declare nominations ceased. Please vote. I just wanted to see if those look better than ours. I don't think so. We'll keep ours. Thanks. Way to get out of your own work. I'll keep the suspense alive, sure. Congratulations, Rebecca. You're our new vice president. And thank you, Jennifer, for being willing to serve. With that formality out of the way, we'll go on to our staff reports. I do not see the FEA present tonight, so I think we'll go right over to Dr. Gross, Student Mobility Report, and I'd reference you to memo number 9 in your packet.
Well, thank you very much. This is the second mobility report we have presented to you this school year. The first one was for the first semester. This then aggregates all the data for the entire school year. So attached to memo 9 is the report, and I'm just going to go to page 2 of the report, which is the summary. And what you'll see from that report is a series of data that over the course of the 2017 school year, we had 960 students move into the district, and we had 1,102 move out of the district. As you compare that to 2016, you'll see it's similar, but a few less students in and out over the course of the school year in aggregate. Then on the bottom of page 2, you will just see that same data in a graphical format so that you can see not only the total number, but the students by different grade bands, elementary, middle school, and high school. There are many reasons why a parent or a family may move in and out of the district. I think most of it is due to employment. So I think as we see the data that's in front of us, I think our mobility is connected to that. The data that I see tells us that we are a very mobile district, one that we need to be very aware of, and I know in our buildings we certainly are. As the buildings are prepared, as students move into the district over the course of the school year, to welcome new families into our district, to make sure that they feel part of the community. Part of our strategic plan is a strong culture and climate plan in which buildings work very hard to be a warm and welcoming place. And with this data that we see, I certainly think that that is something that we need to continue to stress and move forward with, because you can see the total number of students coming in to our district. Then as you look on pages 3 through the rest of the report, we just provided you some data on where the students either came to us from or where they left the Fargo Public Schools and went to that. So for example, on the first page, you can see the elementary data. The largest grouping of students who came to us at the elementary level came to us from outside of the states of Minnesota and North Dakota. And then you can go around that pie chart and see the different groupings. And then the same demographics are used to show you the number of students or the percentage of students who have moved out of the district. We did not include numbers as we got into the pie charts and into the individual grade band, just because we wanted to be very careful not to identify a student or a family, because sometimes those numbers can be quite small. Then as you look on the remainder of this document, you'll see the same data for middle school. Again, the transfer in and where they came from, and then transfer out. And then finally on the last page of the report, the high school data. As we look at this from year to year, we do see similarities from each and every year. So this is data that we expected as we moved into the creation of this report, but is something that all of our buildings take very seriously, and they want to make sure that they do the best they can to be a warm and welcoming place, and then help families as they make that transition to another school district. So with that, I would answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Bob? John?
Thank you. The high school transfer out to out of state, what was that last year? That seems like it's larger than I've seen in the past. Is that also on trend for what we've seen?
It's similar. I do not have that data in front of me, but I will get that for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Rebecca?
How often is it that we have an equal transfer in and transfer out for elementary students?
As you look at page 2, and that was exactly the same, we double-checked that data to make sure that it was accurate, because that's highly unlikely, but it was true.
Well, thank you very much, Bob. As always, it's enlightening to see how mobile we truly are.
Certainly.
And that gets us to our next subject, graduation rates, and I think you're back up.
I am. Thank you very much. For this report, what I'd like to do is draw your attention to our strategic plan dashboard. On the dashboard is a wealth of information about the students that we have the opportunity to serve. And one of the tabs on the dashboard is achievement data. And unfortunately, I think it's behind you as you, oh, you have it in front of you? Thank you.
We have it here.
Oh, terrific. Under the Achievement tab, there's a wealth of information from how students performed on our state assessment to some of the assessments that we develop or create in the Fargo schools. But over on the far right-hand side, there is a tab for graduation rate. As I open that up, what you'll see is trend data for the past few years around graduation rate. The data that is there currently is not for the year that we just finished, but for the 15-16 school year. The data we want to provide you and the community is from the Department of Public Instruction, and they are working on the data from the year that just finished. But on this page, what you can see over on the right-hand side is how that data is calculated. And what it does is it really looks as a 4-year cohort. So as a student enters a system as a 9th grader, basically is, did they graduate in 4 years or on time? If a student needed additional time, which some of our students do, they would not be considered an on-time graduate and would not be in the percentages that are on this report. So as I zoom in just slightly into this report, one nice thing as we look at our data, we've tried to make it as easy for our community to look at. So I can turn on and off any of the data sets for the information I'm looking at. So if I look just at the district data, what I can see is for that school year, the last set of data that we have, it is the highest percentage over the past multiple years that we have been able to see in the Fargo schools. So our district graduation rate is 87.2 for that school year. I can then turn on or off any of the individual buildings as well. So for example, at Fargo Davies, you can see their graduation rate for the year that we have data is 96+%. And then if I go to Fargo North, we're at 80 or 94+%. And finally, Fargo South, our last comprehensive high school, that is at 92%. As I look at the data and I look at the trends that we see across our system, especially looking at the Fargo Public Schools aggregate data, I think that's telling of our strategic plan in action. As we talk about building a strong climate and culture in our buildings, as we talk about building an MTSS system or a multi-tier system, a support system in place for the students, and then a lot of what's happening at the individual buildings. I think if you go to any of our comprehensive high schools, you're going to find a support system in place where students who have been identified who are receiving Ds or Fs in classes are connected with teachers to help them with those assignments, to help them get back up to that grade that they will earn credit, because a failing grade is certainly an indicator that a student may not successfully graduate or drop out. We have, at all of our high schools, the principals come together with their assistant principals, their counselors, and the student wellness facilitators to have individual meetings about students to identify those who might need some extra support. And then based upon that, at our high schools, we have programs like Check and Connect or our Champion program, where staff members have assigned themselves to check on that student every so often to see how they are going, that personal touch. We have our individual learning centers, or our ILCs across the district, to provide help for students who need help in homework, study skills, and keeping on track. And then we have our credit recovery program at all of our high schools, where students who have attempted a class, maybe not been successful in the traditional setting, have an opportunity to take an online learning opportunity to earn those credits that they need to move forward. And then across our system as a whole, I think the commitment that we've made with our student wellness facilitators, moving from a small number of 2 to 6, and as they really look to make community partnerships with parents and students, trying to fill the gaps that maybe a student or a family might have, that has a profound effect on students. Also helping to eliminate or alleviate some of those barriers that the student might have for some of the resources that they need or the family needs. In addition to that, we have our EL social workers who work very closely with our English language families and students to help them as they pursue graduation. And then finally, we have our Native American tutoring program, which also makes a nice connection for those students. So I think it's a wealth of things that we've done both at the building level and at the district level to truly make an impact on the lives of the students that we have the opportunity to serve. And I think the data is telling of that as we look to see the number of students who are graduating on time. So with that, I would answer any questions that you might have.
John, go ahead.
I believe you have briefed us earlier this year that under ESSA and the North Dakota State Plan, the way that these metrics are reported or calculated changes. Can you brief us again on that and how these numbers might be different?
I think one of the big difference between where we are or how we are presenting the data now to what we will under Every Student Succeeds is we will begin to count students who pursue their GED and count them as someone who actually is working towards an equivalent to graduation, because that is an option that some of our students do take, and it is an option that matches their learning style and what they hope to do next in life. So I think as we progress and we get better at collecting that data on those who do complete that GED, we'll be able to share that information with our community as well.
Follow up with that? Go ahead. So will that be a bit then of an apples and oranges comparison to historic data?
We will present the data, I think, in 2 different ways. A very similar way to what's on the screen or what's in front of you now, plus then the extra set of data of those who graduate with a GED.
Thank you.
Brandy?
I just want to say nice job. You can tell by the numbers that it looks great, and they're definitely learning and they're graduating, which is great.
Thank you.
So nice job.
Thank you, Bob.
Yep, thank you.
Jeff?
I just want to add one more comment on that there's another data set that I hope that DPI can start to do a better job with, and that's the 5th-year cohort. So sometimes we have kids who don't graduate on time for the graduation ceremony, but shortly after that, in summer school, they get the credit they needed, or they finish a credit, and then they graduate. Well, that also is not reported, so within the DPI data. So with the GED piece and with the 5th-year cohort piece, you will find that our data actually gets into even higher numbers in the 90s. Unheard of for most school districts across the country. So obviously we want 100%, but the realities of all the things that challenge us, that's very difficult to achieve. But the pathways for students and how they get to where they're going to go once they leave us, the majority of kids are doing something to get something, certification or whatever it is. So in the end, that 100% is pretty close. It's just that it's when do they get it done. And so anyways, I wanted to make that comment to give you the full picture of what happens to that 8%, that 7%, that 6%. So thank you.
Rebecca?
So remind us where we can go to get information on the other school districts in regard to the rates that we're talking about here for our district to see how we compare.
On our strategic plan dashboard, I'm going to bring this down to a Zoom level that's easier to read. Over on the right-hand side, we have hyperlinked to the state website, and that's one click away, and you'll be able to find all the information on all of the different districts in the state.
David?
Mr. President, Dr. Gross, Bob, do you have that statistic, the average on-time graduation for North Dakota?
I will be able to find it within the next few minutes, but I don't have it off the top of my head.
Thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes?
John Rodemaker asked a question earlier about last year's mobility, and I have that answer if you would like it for you said the percentage of leaving from out of state. It was 59% last year for high school.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. That brings us to our consent agenda, and the chair would entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as prepared.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries. We have two business items this evening. The first has to do with the impasse hearing, which is coming up on July 19th, and I'd reference you over to memo number 10 in your package. I believe the hearing is scheduled for 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's going to be held at the South High Theater. And certainly any and all board members are welcome to attend. If you are going to be there, you have 2 seating options, and we'd kind of like to know if you're going to attend and if you'd like to actually sit up on the stage. There'll be a table for the hearing officers, there'll be a table for the FEA representatives, and then there'll be a table for board members. Obviously, staff and anybody in attendance will be out in the audience where normally you'd sit to watch a performance. But if you plan to be there and you would like to be up at the board table, could you please let Anne Marie know? Just so as we set up that room, because there's a lot of logistics to figure out with miking and everything else, she has a pretty good head count on what she needs for table space up there and chairs. One of the things we had to make sure of is that we would have at least 3 board members present, and President Boyd has put forward a recommendation that the official board members that would be at the impasse hearing, again, it does not mean the rest are not invited to be there, would be those that served on the negotiating committee and herself. So again, I know we may already have 1 or more board members with a conflict on that particular day. I think we already know we have at least 3, which is what the fact-finding commission is asking for. But I do need a motion to accept this recommendation from President Boyd as to the makeup of the impasse hearing panel for the board. Linda.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I actually, in light of knowing that we have 3, and since this recommendation was written, we've had further conversations with the members of the fact-finding commission, and the written materials they sent out early were very specific, and then it sounds like it's a little broader. So I would actually, instead of the recommended motion, I would move instead that the entire board is welcome to participate as the board's representation at this mediation or impasse hearing, and that Jim Johnson be our spokesperson, and also that anyone who plans to attend would contact Anne Marie and let her know well in advance.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Oh,
Moved in second. Any discussion?
I just have a question.
Yep.
If there's a board member who can't be present in the room since it's at South High, is there going to be some kind of opportunity to at least call in and hear what's going on? Is it going
Yes.
to be broadcast, or what's?
Yeah, no, arrangements are being made for a conference call line to be available that day. That was actually a request from the FEA, which we immediately agreed to. And I believe our IT specialist in the back of the room is working with the folks over at South High to make sure that happens. So yes, and for anybody that may not be able to be there but would like to call in, again, please let Anne Marie know that so she can make sure she's getting you the call-in information. It may be different than what we normally do to call into a board meeting because we're sitting over at South High. I'm not sure what the phone number is going to be for that. But just let Anne Marie know, and that certainly will be available. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented by Linda to have the entire board be representatives of the board, I guess I would be the spokesperson, signify by saying, oh, do we need a roll call for this? Thank you, Anne Marie. Please call the roll.
Ani,
Yes.
Benson,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Goldenberg,
Yes.
Knutson,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Rodenbacher,
Yes.
Ulrich,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Our next order of business is some housekeeping in preparation of our second meeting that will follow shortly after this one. The annual reorganization meeting for the Fargo School District Building Authority is on their agenda for this evening. And one of the things we need to do as a school board is put forward our recommendation as to who those members should be. I think you're all aware of the current membership of the Building Authority, which is the 9 of us, along with Dr. Schatz and our business manager, Brock Leeds. I would certainly undertake a motion.
I'll move that the 9 board members, with the addition of Dr. Schatz and Brock Leeds, be approved for membership on the Fargo School District Building Authority.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, Anne Marie, if you'd call the roll, please.
Benson,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Goldenberg,
Yes.
Knutson,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Rodenbacher,
Yes.
Ulrich,
Yes.
Ani,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. That gets us to our board reports, and the first thing under reports is our retreat, which is coming up this Thursday. And that will be held at Davies High School in that community room. Does it have a technical name?
Room H101. And so it's, you go into the main entrance, take a left and go down the hallway along the gym corridor. And it's right at the end of that hallway, and we'll have a sign out. But H101 is the room number.
Thank you. I think provided in your packet was a complete package for what we're going to be going over at the retreat. We're obviously not going to go through that in detail, but if anybody had any questions regarding the retreat, now would be a great time to ask them. Is there anybody that's not going to be able to be there, at least for a portion of the day? Super. Well, we'll be back together early Thursday morning at a different location. Board picnic is coming up. I want to, first of all, thank all of you that have been going out and getting door prizes. And the good news is there are plenty of shopping days left between now and August 2nd to try and get more, and more is always good. And I do believe we heard back from the official barbecue team So several of us are going to try and get all the hair off of our arms that day, if at all possible. And again, I want to, yeah, well, he already took care of that part. And I want to thank both of you for helping out and volunteering there. And obviously, other board members are going to have the opportunity to volunteer either at the sign-in desk or when we get around to giving out the door prizes. So that'll be a fun day. Again, if you know you're not going to be able to be there, please let me know. So I can plan accordingly, but hopefully we'll have a pretty good showing of the entire board if possible. Individual reports. John, we'll start with you. Anything to report this evening?
Nothing real official, except I was able to, through my daughter, participate in see some of the summer school activities go on, and I dropped by the office at South just to say hi, and it's really cool to see what all, the breadth and the scope and the heightened activity during the summer. It's, school does not stop on that last day at all. We're still a busy community here, so that was good. I was happy to be able to make that opportunity, and I also got a sneak peek at some of the changes coming to South with the carpet and the gymnasium floor, which, wow, overdue, looks good. People are going to be really happy walking into that building. So, thank you.
Super. Brandy?
I have nothing except for North High. The roof is going on. That's all I have. Thanks.
Jennifer?
Health Insurance Committee meets Tuesday, the 18th. So after that, I'll have something to report.
Okay. Christy?
I have nothing to report.
Rebecca?
The Native American Commission met last week. I was out of town. We had family in town from Norway. And I asked if I could call in because they do have that opportunity, but they suggested typical Native American fashion of reconnecting with elders and family. They suggested that I stay focused on my family. I thought that was pretty genuine. So I don't have anything to report from that meeting, but I'll get the information as to what happened and report back next time. Thank you.
David?
Nothing, thank you.
Linda?
Thank you. This past week, I worked with Dr. Schatz and cabinet members and Jim on putting together the big packet of materials that was laid out in extremely precise form from the Fact-Finding Commission, and I just want to salute the only person here who didn't work on that is Jolynn, but a lot of work in a short amount of time, and understanding that these same people also had to get all the stuff ready for our board retreat. So a lot of hard work went on in the district office. It's that energy that tore up all the pavement in front. They just blew up. So thank you very much for that. And the Community Development Committee meets next week.
Anna?
Nothing to report.
I don't really have a president's report because I haven't been at this job long enough to report anything, but I will go on record saying thank you very much for the opportunity to serve you over the next year, and any and all ideas that you may have about how we can operate better, please let me know. And of course, if you have a particular committee or two or three that you have a desire to serve on, again, please let me know that, because sometime between now and our August meeting, we've got to put new committee structures together. That being said, those of you that are currently on the governance committee will continue to serve in that role until our first meeting in August. So keep in mind that we'll probably have a governance committee meeting before we actually have new committee structures. At least I'm believing we do.
The next meeting, I believe, my calendar won't pull up right now, I believe it's July 25th to schedule those, the August meeting dates. So July 25th, the one from last year will meet to set those August meeting dates.
Yep.
And then at your tables as well is a listing of upcoming dates. I did place there as well with some things for you to note as well.
And last but not least, as she indicated, we are going to celebrate the opening of our newest facility on July 18th. There is going to be an open house out at the Operations Center. I know some of us have already taken a sneak peek through, and I believe now all of our functional areas are in place out there. Yeah, obviously, it'll be open to the public as well. We'd love to have a great turnout of as many school board members as possible. The official time is 3 to 5, but as it says here, the program's going to be at 3:30. So if it fits your calendar on July 18th, please join us out south at the Operations Center. I don't believe we need an executive session for negotiation strategy, do we? No. Which means we are officially adjourned, and our next regular meeting will be August 8th, but again, we have a retreat this coming Thursday. And we are officially off the air.